Welcome back. It's the AEMT lecture series, video number 4. This is going to be the last video. This is going to be the last video for Chapter 7, Anatomy, and we're going to move on. So I don't think there's any more new concepts in this rest of this chapter. The two newest things that you got, we've already covered. One was how glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain kind of works. Okay, didn't go into like the college level 16-week class on that, but there's no reason for us to. But you understand that there's, that system is involved in 3 steps in order to get 34 moles of ATP. You have to have the glycolysis, you have to go to the Krebs cycle, and then you have to go to the electron transport chain. We just talked about acid base. Okay, if you're confused on that, let me know. But it's all about the hydrogen ion. If you have a lot of them, you're going to be more acidic. If you have fewer of them, you're going to be more basic. Then we talked about the buffer. H2CO3 being carbonic acid. It's a hydrogen donator and acceptor. So it can either accept hydrogen or give away hydrogen. Okay, and so therefore that allows it to buffer. And then we talked about how the circulatory system works to aid in that process. We talked about how hemoglobin is able, after it drops off CO2 to pick up, after it drops off O2 to pick up CO2, right? And then we talked about how the respiratory system works, how it blows off CO2. And we talked about the kidneys and how the kidneys can retain bicarb, or how the kidneys can increase the urine output to lower acidity. All right, to make it more basic. That's it. That's your new stuff. Okay. Now we're just going to go through some of the old stuff that you already should know. Here we have the circulatory system, right? If you didn't get this before, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time with it because you got to have it. You have got to have it. You got to know how these work. You got to know that blood comes in from the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. So we have your head, your upper extremity, basically your head, that's going to drain down through the superior vena cava, and then we have everything that's lower extremities up is going to come in through your inferior vena cava. And where does it come in at? Comes in at your left. Let me get this right. Sorry. Right. I caught myself that time before I did it. Your right atrium. It's going to go through your tricuspid valve, tri before you bi. And then it's coming down here to your your right ventricle. And then it's going to come up here and go through the pulmonic valve. Okay, and out through the pulmonary arteries. Remember, this is deoxygenated blood, so it's going to be full of CO2. We need O2, not a problem. We're going to use the process of diffusion, going from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. We have a high number of CO2, high concentration, okay? And so it's going to come, let me get myself straight here. It's going to come out here and go into the alveoli. And then we have a high number of oxygen that's going to pick up here and diffuse in. So from here we go through the pulmonary vein and we re-enter into the left atrium. We're going to go through the bicuspid valve and into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, we're going to come up and through the aortic valve and out through the aorta and down to the cells. Now, once we get here, we're rich in O2. We're going to use that same process of diffusion, right? We're high in O2 here. And so that's going to draw that to the cell. We're low in CO2 here. And that's going to draw that CO2 up. Okay. Once we pick up our CO2, it's now dirty blood. And back the way we started, and through the inferior and superior vena cava. So that, you have to know it and know it a little more, because everything revolves around that process. Be on the listen out for the behoovers. This might be one right here. Blood, yeah. Blood enters the right atrium via the what? Well, we just covered it. Here, look, I wasn't listening. I was trying to play. I'm looking at Facebook and doing my multitasking. So, okay. All right. So we'll repeat it. It enters through the inferior and superior vena cava. So the middle muscular layer of the heart is going to be called the myocardium. That's the middle right here. All right. The inmost layer is the endocardium. And don't forget the epicardium is the outside layer. All right, so let's talk about the valves. There's two semilunar valves. We have the aortic valve and the pulmonic valve. And they divide the heart. They divide the heart from the aorta and the pulmonary artery. The function of these two semilunar valves. The function of the two semilunar valves. It's that behoover voice, I guess. I'm not really good at that, but it's the function is to prevent the backflow of blood into the ventricles. Okay, so that's what those do. They don't allow that blood to flow backwards. Heart sounds. I would know those. I would know that the lub is the first heart sound. It's called the S1. And dub is the second heart sound. It's known as S2. So S1, S2. So we have the electrical conduction system of the heart. So that mechanical function of the heart is brought on by that electrical response.